What you're seeing here are anchor bolts being placed into wet concrete. This is called wet setting. The practice of wet setting anchor bolts is very popular and highly used. And on many occasions, as seen here, the anchor bolts are not even properly set. Wet setting anchor bolt causes the concrete to concave around the anchor bolt. This is not good. Moisture could seep in and destroy the anchor bolt. Also, wet setting anchor bolts creates air pockets, which will compromise the integrity of your foundation. If you search Kimball Engineering on the subject of wet setting anchor bolts, you will find that the Structural Engineers Association of Utah published a letter addressed to building officials on the issue of wet setting and gave specific code explanations as to why wet setting should not be allowed. What you see here is an anchor bolt setter, one of several different types. It presets the anchor bolt before the concrete is poured. It comes in 3 different parts. This is the ABS bolt cap. On the side of it, it is written 5/8, so it's a 5/8 bolt cap. It's designed for the 5/8 anchor bolt. You take the anchor bolt, you slide it inside, and you start screwing it in a few turns. When it meets compression, you continue that compression until the end of the anchor bolt lines perfectly up with the square orifices that's on the bolt cap. This is the ABS steel slider, ABS anchor bolt sitter. This steel slider is to be used when concrete is poured closely to the top of steel foundation forms like this one. It fits snugly and can be nailed or stapled down on the tongue to secure it more precisely if needs be. Once the steel slider is secure, you then set the anchor bolt with the bolt cap as shown here, while making sure that the protruding bottom of the anchor bolt faces the opposite wall, and then making sure that the round hole aligns with the square hole. This is the ABS Loctite and snaps into position like this. From the opening top of the bolt cap, you can see the anchor bolt is at the top, which means that the top of the anchor bolt is 3 inches from the bottom of the steel slider. The steel slider has a 2-inch mark on it. This suggests that from the Loctite wall to the center of the hole is 2 inches. The ABS sliders are designed to hold the anchor bolt 2 inches away from the form wall. The removal of the anchor bolt setter is easy. First you remove the Loctite, and then you unscrew the bolt cap. I can't do it here because there's no concrete holding the anchor bolt in place, but I think by watching you'll get a general idea. And if you're careful, you should be able to use each of the parts many times over. Here are 2 anchor bolts set in place by the ABS steel sliders and are ready now for the concrete to be poured to about 1/4 of an inch from the top. This is the ABS elbow and can be placed just about anywhere when the concrete is not poured to the top. All of my sliders are designed to hold the anchor bolt 2 inches away from the form wall. These 2 anchor bolts were set by the ABS elbow. The anchor bolt with the yellow bolt cap is not straight. Later on, the worker reached over and pushed on the bolt cap, which did straighten the anchor bolt. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture that. After removal of the steel sliders, you can see that the anchor bolts are straight and the concrete did not concave around the anchor bolts. This is the 1 1/4 inch slider and is used when the concrete is poured within 1.5 inches from the top. This is the wood slider and is used when concrete is poured to the top of wood foundation forms. In some states or jurisdictions, you are not allowed to wet set your anchor bolts. What's being used here is a very inferior way of setting anchor bolts prior to the concrete being poured. As you can see, there's also different lengths of anchor bolts. Many of these anchor bolts aren't even set properly. The anchor bolt setter system, as demonstrated in this video, eliminates the improper practice of wet setting anchor bolts. It accurately sets the anchor bolt. It's easy to use and can be used many times over. On this project, they could have used my ABS wood slider with the long ABS bolt cap that range in different lengths from 5 inches to 10 inches like this 6-inch one. This foundation requires anchor bolts to be set 8 inches above the concrete. These are 8-inch ABS bolt caps. This is a 1/4 inch slider, which means it sets the anchor bolt 1/4 inch down from the top of the foundation form. This is the ABS elbow, which can be placed anywhere, as shown here. Just before pouring the concrete, I replaced this red 1.25 inch ABS slider with this yellow steel slider that sits on top of the foundation form. It has a 6.5 inch bolt cap that holds the anchor bolt 8 inches from the top of the concrete. The removal process is easy as seen here. And as seen here, all the parts are reusable. If you use too many staples or nails as shown here, you may damage the ABS slider when you remove it so that you can't reuse it.